Up next on Melaninial.
Hey guys, welcome to Melaninial. I'm your host Shakira Lachey, bringing you a new video today. Yes, welcome Lauren to the show. She is also a member of the Lion King Rafiki tour. She is a singing ensemble member and a Nala cover. You cover Sarabi as well? And Sarabi cover. That's amazing. So how's that? How is it being in the show and how is it being a cover?
Oh, it's been good. It's been a journey. Because I'm not. It was hard in the beginning. Because when I got the job, I had to leave right away. So I only had I think a 3-week notice, and it was like, you have to go now. And for me, I am so used to being in one place, and I got my family, I got my friends, and when they told me I had to leave, it was like, it kind of...
Your agents who told you?
My agents.
Okay.
My agents called me the night of, actually, that I had just gotten back from my callback.
Okay.
And I got home, and my agents called me right away. Yeah.
And you were excited? Were you excited, but because of how fast it was moving, you were a little, hesitant?
I mean, I was excited because I need a job.
Okay.
You know?
Hello?
And I was like, oh my God. But even still, I was like, it's Lion King. It's
right.
the show that everybody wants to do in their career. So the fact that I got it pretty quickly after one show closed, and then just trusting God all the way. And then a month later, I booked Lion King. And then the next day, they gave me the schedule of okay, you're leaving on this date, you're doing this. And I was like, oh, that's in 3 weeks. Yeah. So although it's been crazy journey, and it was crazy in the beginning, but it's also been an amazing process. Yeah. And just all the things I got to experience and all the people I get to meet.
Yes, and how much you get to grow in your artistry.
Oh my gosh.
Taking on Nala and Sarabi, and just being in a show at this capacity that literally performs 8 times a week. I'm sure how it has pushed you endurance wise and just expanding creatively.
Oh yeah. Creatively, in my artistry, mentally, spiritually, all the ways. All the ways.
This show will do that too.
It will.
It really does.
Things. Yeah.
And so how have you found the balance in your spiritual life, family, moving around so much when you are used to being in one spot? How are you managing?
I think now I have a better balance than when I first started. When I first started,
it's the
trying so ghetto. I think the people outside are the people that really keep me grounded, spiritually especially, because I'm definitely a person about faith and my spiritual walk and being a follower of Jesus. So because of the people outside, and my discipler, my parents, my friends, my church family, I think with them, they're the reason why I can continue on the tour and why I've gotten this far. Because I wanted to leave right after my year in November, and I was like, I want to be done. I'm ready to go. Yeah. But then the Lord was like, no, your time is not done here yet. Yeah. And so I stayed a little longer.
Yeah. What made you feel like you wanted to be done, or why were you feeling like, okay, I've given enough to this space, I think it's time for me to leave?
Honestly, rushing, of just being it could be rushing, prideful, of just being I feel like I'm not using all of the talent that I have here. Or it's not being seen or whatever. But it was just I always had the plan of when I first got here, I was like, I'm just going to be here for a year. But then I think it was just when I was here and when that year came, it felt like I was trying to control it more than just listening to God, of being okay, when are you okay with me leaving? Let me be obedient to you and your plan. Because I was like, nope, I'm doing it. This is my plan. I'm leaving on this date. Right. But then I felt so much anxiety about it. And it was I was supposed to be putting in my notice. And then I was like, I don't feel right. This does not sit right with me. And in that process, things that I've learned is if it does not sit right with you, don't do it.
Ooh, that is such a word. That's
good.
literally me with my content sometimes. Cause you know I'm wild, okay?
Yep.
Especially more so music. Like I love hip hop, I love ratchet music,
Right.
and I know God is really like helping me find the balance in what I listen to and how it affects me. But I posted something and I was just like, this don't like it was good for the moment, but it just don't sit right. And I deleted it and I felt better. But I'm like, why did I even post it? Because I kind of had that feeling in the beginning. So I'm glad you mentioned on like really being able to discern and listen and hear what God is guiding you to do instead of you trying to control the situation.
Oh yeah.
And like, can you speak a little bit more about like your relationship and your faith and how you grew to even be able to be obedient to say, you know what, I'm not gonna rush out of this because I'm ready to be done. Let me really see what God is trying to do and how He's guiding me in this.
Oh yeah. Well, we had a crazy relationship. We had off and on
Okay.
relationship for some years.
Trust me, it's not easy. I be going through with the Lord. And the thing is, people make it seem like it is like this walk in the park relationship, but it's really like any relationship that challenges like, you, that corrects you. It's
probably like the craziest relationship I've ever been in, and it's all because me. I be the one. The problem is me.
Yes,
the problem is me. But no, people think it's when you commit and when you surrender to His will, you're signing up for a crazy time. You're signing up to go through long suffering, and we hear that and it sounds crazy because it's like, oh man, and we're committing to going through lonely seasons because you're like, I'm stepping away from this worldly life that I don't want to live, and I'm choosing to follow the Holy Spirit. And it's not easy. And I think it took me some time through my walk to get me to this point of being like, Lord, I'm fully in. When I think I grew up in a Christian home, but it wasn't until I became an adult that I was like, okay, Lord, I'm for real with this. But my dad is a pastor. My grandfather on my mom's side was a pastor. So it's been in our family.
I love that.
So grew up in the Christian home. We did church every day. My dad became a non-denominational pastor when I was like 14, 15. And my grandfather was a Baptist pastor in Baptist churches.
Okay.
Love them, but it's a lot. It's a lot. And grew up with certain religious people, so I didn't understand the relationship aspect of like what it looked like to have a relationship with God. But I did see that at home. Like I saw my parents, they're human, and I saw them have their mess ups. I saw them go through things, but I also saw them surrendering fully to whatever the God's will was. So I saw them living an obedient life, but I also saw them being like, I'm human and I mess up.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, so I never saw them being perfect, but I saw them always going back to their prayer closet.
I love that.
Especially my mom. So that was like what I grew up in. But then I got in college, and I think I always dealt with, I have always dealt with like certain things like rejection and going through other things where I look at other people and like my own insecurities and putting that on other people. And started having sex. Yeah, started having sex, drinking, going to parties, all throughout college. And I think by still, considering to be a Christian, because I'm like, this is like the thing that I know. But it wasn't until afterwards where I think I was engaged my senior year of college. And once we broke up,
you like were engaged, like
I was engaged, like
proposed to.
Proposed to. He got on one knee.
You got him dropping to their knees, Lord. Yes, Lord. That's what the girls need.
However,
that wasn't what the Lord.
That was not what the Lord wanted.
Okay. So that didn't happen.
That did not happen. Close that chapter. But when we broke up, I went through so much. Oh my gosh. It was like probably the darkest place I had ever been in. I went through so much depression, rejection. I was having so much anxiety attacks, panic attacks, to where like my body could not move. And I was drinking all the time. Like I was blacking out. And
that was your way of coping?
That was the way of coping. I did that for like a year, and I was sleeping with anything that came my way.
Oh, and Lord.
She was out here.
She was out
in the streets.
And I think that's so, I know it's so funny how God works, because literally I was like, okay, my Melaninial talk with Lauren, what I was taking notes about, like just what I feel like we should get into. And I literally talked about, I wrote down celibacy. I wrote about your spiritual life, and you mentioned something about poor life. Did you say rejection?
Oh yeah.
Suffering.
Maybe.
Suffering was something that I'm like, oh, because I feel like I'm going through a season of like pain and the isolation and being absent and being celibate and really just trying to like pursue God amidst the pains and the loneliness and the energy of just being in that season. So how has those seasons transformed you to where you are now, and what has gotten you through it? Because I know you said like you come from a family who's been in ministry, so I'm sure you've, like you say, you've seen your mom and your family kind of work through that. How has even just watching them help you get through those seasons?
Well, it wasn't like seeing them. One time I was talking to my mom about this, and one thing I told her, I was like, oh man, I get frustrated when people think the only reason why I have a relationship with Jesus is because of my parents. And I'm like, that's not the case at all. Because
all you.
How does that explain my other family members? Because I'm like, they saw the same things that I did.
Right.
And they're not in the faith.
Yes.
So
it's definitely a personal relationship.
Oh, it's definitely a personal relationship. But my mom, she gave an analogy of like, she was like, it's like saying that your parents grew up being a doctor, and you're like, I want to be a doctor too. You still have to go to the same school. You still got to go to school.
You still got to do the work.
You still got to do the work
and I think
in order to get your own degree.
Exactly. It's almost like when they say people who are famous and their kids are Nepo babies or whatever that whole thing is. Yeah. It's just like, what do people work hard to be able to provide for their families for if they're not able to set them up for success? Exactly. Like that's the whole point of creating generational wealth and a legacy, to be able to put your kids in a position that you necessarily couldn't be in. So that never makes sense to me, but I think there's a way where people may take advantage and not see the privilege in having parents that are in ministry and that are faith-centered, or having parents who are in business or whatever the case is. Oh yeah, and because they don't see the process. Like they don't see what you go through. Yeah. So they're seeing like the image that you're showing now, but they're like, they don't see what you had to do to get to this place. Right, because I'm definitely curious about that. Oh, maybe to be a PT, is that what they call it? PK. Child. Because it's just like fun. I could imagine. Maybe ghetto. But when I think, well, I didn't become celibate or abstinent until 2 years ago. Like fully, where it was like, Lord, I really have no desire. Right. And wow, now that you gonna have to give me that. I'm like, girl, is this in the Bible? I could have sworn that this is a part of our health. Like, and because I think we make it look like sex is a bad thing. And sex and I don't like the shame. Like, I'm like, I think abuse of anything is not its intentional purpose is. I don't think that you should be reckless with anything that God has given us. Anything, too much of anything can turn into something bad. Like if sex was bad, God would have made it. Yeah, He wouldn't have created it. Like He made it for good. Like sex is a good thing, and it's when fornication comes in where that is considered to be a sin. And now, what exactly is fornication? Fornication is sex outside of marriage. Oh yes, and so because it's like the most intimate that you can be with a person. Like that's your most vulnerable time. Yeah. And so that is when you become one with that person. And
even other people that I've had sex with, it's like I'm still connected to those people unless I go through deliverance.
Lord, talk about it. We need a soul top. And it's so funny because, oh my gosh, we're going to hold that. We're going to pick back up here. We're going to take a break and come back and get into more conversations about soul ties and like how when you do exchange that energy that you are connected to people that you've experienced and had sex with. And it's important to do energy healing work, to, like you said, have deliverances and do, and I'm still learning and seeking to understand the work required, because I feel like I've been constantly healing my vessel and ridding my vessel of like attachments to people and all those things. So stay locked. We about to get into the juicy stuff on Melaninial. See y'all in a second. Peace. Yes, Lauren. That's so. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for part 2.